Hi and welcome. It's Jennifer Britton. I'm the author of Effective Virtual Conversations, and I want to welcome you to a look back, our first birthday anniversary call for the Effective Virtual Conversations book. A year ago, July 31st, 2017, I launched Effective Virtual Conversations. Wanted to take this as an opportunity to look back at some of the highlights of the last year since the book's launch. It's been really amazing to watch as an author the book go out into the world, how it's being embraced by different organizations, from sales programming to financial services to the work of coaches and trainers. And very much when I sat down to write this, in late 2016, early 2017, the intent was to give practitioners a robust toolkit to help them do better virtual conversations of all types, from conference calls to webinars, from leading virtual group coaching to other elements. So I want to take you through an important part of the first year of launching this book, which was the community calls. And month to month, over the last several months, I've done a series of not only blog posts, but also live calls on virtual facilitation. You can go back and watch these at any time at effectivevirtualconversations.com. They're also uploaded to YouTube. And I started off with the launch call July 31st of last year of 2017. From there, each and every month or twice a month, we looked at a variety of different calls. So I want to take you through those, including calls on engagement and virtual platforms, what's similar and what's different in the virtual space, marketing tips, and more recently, some of the core questions that people ask around virtual conversations. This, like others, will get uploaded to YouTube. And as an author, I always like to talk a little bit about the context and how this started. And in fact, the seeds of this book, the roots of this book started almost 3 decades ago when I was a virtual and remote team leader myself. In those days, I was leading across a country in South America. We were connected not by phone, not by fax, but by long-range radio. And very much being an effective virtual conversation or communicator in those days was literally a life or death issue. Flash forward to 2000s. We live in an era where people are multitasking and on conference calls from 6 a.m. until literally 10 p.m. at night in some offices. There's a long list of to-dos, as you can see here from this cartoon from my book, as well as, multiple screens, multiple tasks being undergone. And for those of us that are leading virtual conversations, it's a blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of, we're just another voice behind it. Even if we look at engagement, I know most people, for even accessing these calls, happens after the fact. And I'm happy to show up, do the call, and have you join me. When I first launched my first book, Effective Group Coaching, almost a decade ago now, my calls would be an hour in length. We've now weaned those down to 30 minutes. And as we look at the realm of micro-learning, I think virtually our conversations need to be even crisper and more focused. It's not uncommon now for me to be designing for 3-minute windows of learning, 10-minute windows of learning. So let's take a look back at what you can access. And again, these are all housed over at effectivevirtualconversations.com. There are more than 15 separate effective virtual conversation community calls, ranging in length from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Again, as an author, I thought, well, let's do a 45-minute call. That became too long. So some of the calls that we're going to look at quickly are 5 common questions, breakouts at Sizzle, moving the needle on engagement. And in fact, as I looked over the statistics of who's watching what, these were some of the ones that people really zoomed into. So let me take you into it. And it's been exciting, not only speaking here, but speaking to groups around the world. As an author, that's why I write, because I know that people really do use the materials, put it into practice. So it also has led to a new set of courses. There's the new Virtual Facilitation Essentials, which is no longer new. It started last fall and evolved out of the Virtual Facilitation Skills Intensive program. So for many years, I've been running virtual train-the-trainer programs, helping professionals of all backgrounds navigate this world of webinars, of virtual calls, of how to make it engaging. And I'd like you to think about what you do. Last year, I found that speaking to length of time and speed, the 15-hour online program just became too long. And so I condensed that into a 5-week, 75-minute session called Virtual Facilitation Essentials. It's now approved by the International Coach Federation for 8.5 CCEs, and that's continuing coach education. Not everyone that comes to it is a coach, but it certainly is a course that helps you be a better facilitator leading calls. So we started off launch call last year, July 31st, a lot of celebration, a lot of robustness. I was very happy to actually put this book out into the world because I felt that it was overdue. And likewise, in my work, this is something that I constantly have some timestamp on. Even though it's a year later, I'm doing a call from the same location. And every July and August, I'm very lucky and have structured my work so that I can work virtually throughout the summer months, connecting in with groups all over the world. So Mondays and Fridays are a little hectic, but it is a great day where I get to meet with people from north to south, east to west. From there, we moved on to a second call in August called 4 Ways to Move the Needle on Engagement in the Virtual Space. And in this call, I took a look at breakouts, at using polls, at using annotation, some of the many levers we have to really get people into the virtual space. A lot of facilitators say that it takes some time, but what are the things you can be doing to move the needle on engagement? From there, mid-August, almost a month to this date, I then did a call on different virtual platforms. And if you have picked up a copy of the book, you'll recognize this as the virtual ecosystem, where in the book, I go through 9 different types of virtual platforms. So let's take a look into that. Let's see if I can bring this up a little bit. And they range really from the formal and informal space to those that are being guided by the self and the peer. We may be coaching, we may be doing team development, we may be facilitating peer learning, masterminds, coaching circles, breakouts, networking, action learning. We may be hosting a variety of meetings in the virtual space as well. Or we could be creating video-based learning. So all of these are options. And while they are radically different, there are a lot of common principles that underscore and underpin these different platforms. For those that are interested, do check out at effectivevirtualconversations.com the August 15th call. From there, I jumped in September of last year to similarities and differences. What's similar and what's different? And that was quickly followed up by a call entitled 6 Activities to Open and Close. And I think some of the things that we want to consider are things like wrist, sequencing, connection, trust. That's going to help us move the dial from low to high in terms of what are some practical and tactical activities that we have to open and close. Just to make a reference point, because activities are really key in the work that I do, and I know for many of you as readers, Chapter 7 of the book maps to activities and engagement in the virtual space. And in fact, just to really highlight, most, if not all of these calls map to different chapters. I really felt that it was important in hosting these virtual calls to highlight some of the different things across the book. Now, one of the areas that I think I see people become alive with is that of breakouts. So in late October, we looked at breakouts that sizzle. And this was a really fun call. There were a number of participants who joined me, and they got to experience what a breakout is like. So I go through some of the pros and cons of breakouts, but really some of the things to keep in mind, from looking at the size of breakouts to the different types of platforms. As many of you might know, on my calls, I host a lot of my calls on Zoom, and it is a really easy way to get people into breakouts, interacting with each other, and in dialogue. So lots on breakouts in terms of how to set them up, how to equip people for success. They are a really important vehicle for peer conversation, and that's something we always want to be facilitating. So for those interested, check out the October 2017 Breakouts at Sizzle. From there, I followed up with another call on marketing tips. That was also an October 2017 call. And one of the things that I think is really important to underscore is that building a virtual business takes a lot of time. It's networking in different ways. And one of the most important things is that it requires regular and consistent action. So is this something you're doing weekly, daily, monthly? How can you schedule it? How can you track it? And that actually led to the launch of my newest publication this year, The Coaching Business Builder, which just got launched also August 1st of 2018. This is geared right now for coaches, but I'm currently working on a remote and leader workbook and planner. And it really is geared to help you get into action, get into that focused daily or weekly or monthly action to keep things going. So if you're a coach, I hope that you'll check out a copy. They're $29.99, and it's actually a monthly, annual, full year, 12-month undated planner. So you can start this fall, you can start in the new year. I really want to encourage you to start this fall as you get back to work, to take a look out beyond the daily grind into the monthly, into the quarterly, into the annual frame. As we know as coaches, if we get too granular on things, it starts to water down our focus. It becomes a checkbox activity. And I think many times that's what happens in marketing. Just left a call and one of the coaches was indicating, like, how do I do this and that and something else? Well, out of those 5 things, what's the most important thing? What's the thing that you can track? What's the thing that you can schedule and enjoy? It's really important that in the virtual space, we put a focus on it. So for those that are going out and marketing their own virtual programs, whether it is, a course, whether it is group coaching, marketing is critical. And that too is why I wrote the Coaching Business Builder. Section 3, which comes before the planner, Section 3 is all about marketing essentials, and it gives you an opportunity to work through questions helping you think about how you're going to go out and promote your own work. So with that, marketing tips. Now, not everything goes smoothly. Friday of last week was a case in point. I'm working remote and technology was not on my side. So as I write on page 276 of the book, common pitfalls might be faced by technology, through facilitation, or even through group member issues. And in the call, November 2018, I really go through those 3 areas, things that you can do, 10 different areas, things that you can do to mitigate against them, things that you can put into place so that if they happen, you have a backup or you have a way to minimize it. Another reason why I really like using platforms like Zoom when I have tech issues, which inevitably happen, like Friday, the group could continue the conversation. I dropped off, I kept dropping off, but they were able to call in. And it's quite rare that you can't, that you would have so many tech issues in a day, but it does happen. So how do we set not only ourselves up for success, but group members up for success? And that is the focus again of Tricky Issues in the Virtual Space, November 2018. Now, in December, I really wanted to support people into getting into action, and that's where program design hacks come in. I started piloting these 2 summers ago, and I run them probably 4 to 6 times a year now. They are design hacks geared to get you thinking real time about program ideas. And so it's a very quick way to start creating out a skeleton. Obviously, it is not the final skeleton, even the full skeleton, but it gets you thinking about what your work could look like. And I'll be hosting another one of these design hacks in the fall. I don't record them because they are real-time working sessions, and so you really are just encouraged to bring a program for our next hack this fall, 45 minutes, a pen and a piece of paper, program idea, and we'll go through a series of facilitated questions to get you thinking about what it could look like. So with that, we started off the year looking at masterful skills. And again, this is from Effective Virtual Conversations. It talks about skills in 8 areas, from creating the context through to communication and process, equipping yourself with tools, working to support group development, looking at ourselves as facilitators, gaining some skills in the technical realm, and also becoming a better designer. There's always something new, and as much as we might be a great facilitator in one area, there's always something new to learn or up the ante. Personally, right now, I'm doing some design work with design learning with a really savvy designer. I'm learning about color and use of color and how that makes people feel. And even in launching the Coaching Business Builder, my new workbook and planner, it's been really interesting to think about design and how everything gets sequenced. One thing you might have noticed, and this was very intentional, is that the colors of both books are similar. Okay, so really liked the design on this book, and in pulling together for coaches the brand of book A with book B, really important to, as I say here, put the pieces together. So for coaches, for many years, they've known me as the puzzle pieces. Then in Effective Virtual Conversations last year, it became a discussion around what are the different bubbles? What are the conversations we want to spark? In growing our businesses, we need to put those pieces together. So for anyone interested in virtual facilitation masterful skills, looking at what these are and where you might want to move the needle, check out the January 2018 Masterful Skills Call. In February of this year, I turned attention to building trust and connection virtually. And throughout Effective Virtual Conversations, I talk about the triad of virtual learning. How do we build safety, trust, and connection? And this is really a key area in terms of harnessing within our groups. If people don't feel any of these or one of these, it has an impact on the quality of the call, the quality of the conversation. So you'll really want to think through strategically, how do you do all of these in the virtual space? It's a little bit different. March, there was no call, took some holiday time. And in April, was a call that I called 3 activities. Equipping you with more tools, more skills is really important. And you'll see here on the screen, I talked as one of the 3 activities about using photos as a visual anchor, bringing in the conversation and putting it over to group members. What you see in front of you is the Francophone edition of Conversation Sparker. It is a way to get people in conversation, in dialogue with each other. And last year, I launched a digital version of this resource to help people facilitate conversations. So you can now get an Anglophone, and also we can do a Francophone version of the digital questions so that you can bring those into your workshops, bring those into your conversations, your webinars, etc. And it really is a different approach to sparking a conversation. In May, I turned to what I'd been hearing, just as we're doing in this call. And over the last year, I've been out on the road in the virtual space, talking a lot about the virtual conversations. And we look at, I pulled together in this call 5 questions that I always get answered or asked about virtual and their answers. So question 2 of 5 was, what techniques and approaches could I use? And I walked you through a couple of the range of types of calls and tools that we have at our disposal, everything from openers and closers to problem solving to looking at different activities for learning and awareness, different goals and actions, and exercises and techniques that we can use for reflection. Having a robust toolkit with all of these is critically important. And that's why I spend a full week, actually almost 2 weeks, in the Virtual Facilitation Essentials, taking you through those. And the most important part, a lot of coaches now are saying, can I get some practice? So many now in the Essentials are doing an opener or a closer. Some people are carrying on and working with me in the Advanced Virtual Facilitation Practicum, which is where we go deeper in another 6 weeks of the program, helping you get more effective in your own work. And more importantly, it's not effective. I think it's getting you more confident and getting you to design stuff, to try it out, to practice it, to work with it. So by June, we turned our attention to 10 pitfalls. Things like, what did you say? I can't hear you. And we looked at the things that you can do and the things that you can do to mitigate so that they don't even happen. So that is our first year. And coming up, what I've committed to doing is hosting a call a month. These typically, but not always, will happen the second or third Monday of every month. Usually will happen at 11 o'clock a.m. And so in September, we're going to Engagement 101, more about breakouts, polls, and annotation. In October, I'm turning our attention on October 15th for team tools in the virtual space. November, I'll be taking you through 5 things to consider for 2019 planning for virtual. And in December, as I said, I'll be bringing back a program design hack. So bring a program you want to work on real time, and it is a 45-minute session, not a 30-minute session, to get you working on this. So if you enjoyed that, maybe you'll enjoy the latest publication. I talked a little bit about it a few minutes ago, but if you're a coach or a trainer, even if you're not, this may be a great resource. And in fact, right now I'm working on doing similar publication. It's 270 pages, and the first part is a workbook planner. That's going to be changed up for remote professionals and leaders to be a little bit more applicable to your world. But what we have in the back end is the planner part. So there's an annual tracker, there's a series of variety of annual tools, then some quarterly tools. You can start again at any time. Just this morning, I did a quarterly planning hack where for the members of the group, it wasn't a quarter, it was really bi-monthly. And then you have some undated monthly daily trackers. There's 27 different tools in total. And what I'm going to be doing in the next several months is showcasing many of those tools over at thecoachingbusinessbuilder.com. I'll also be doing these on Instagram just to give you a sense of what it looks like in action. So pick up a copy. If you know of any coaches, pick up a copy for yourself around marketing. If you're a solopreneur, you'll find this very, very applicable. Looking for support, I'll be continuing to offer until the end of the year the Learning Lab and Design Studio. We meet Friday mornings, 8:45 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern. That's Toronto time, first and third weeks of the month. And then the Coaching Biz Growth Lab meets Friday afternoons from 3 to 4 p.m., first and third weeks of the month for group calls. Focus in the Coaching Biz Growth Lab is on business development. So I'd like to invite you to create a plan. What are your next steps? What are the 3 bullet points you would like to incorporate into your work? Before you sign off today, take a note of what your next steps are to move the needle forward on your virtual conversations. Maybe it's about setting up a free account in one of the many platforms. Maybe it's about picking up a copy of my book. Always go to Amazon. Or perhaps it's about finding some clients that you can be working with. There's always something new, always something different in the virtual space, and it's a lot of fun. It allows you to really work where you want, when you want. So with that, I'm going to just turn forward, leave this here. One little note for those interested in more graphics, don't forget the Conversation Sparker digital license is available to you. You can purchase that at conversationsparker.com. The other piece that I'd invite you to follow along with for planning news is you can join the planning hacks at any time. So I'll be doing monthly, quarterly, and annual planning sprints from the book. You don't have to be a coach. You can join me for a 45-minute working session at any time. Those are going to be listed at the Effective Virtual Conversations page, as well as our Effective Group Coaching Facebook page. So with that, have a great time. Next call, as I said, is in a couple of weeks, Monday, September 10th, and it will be on engagement, more about breakouts, polls, and annotation. Bring your questions, bring your fingers, because we're going to be using breakouts, polls, and annotation to give you a chance to see what it looks like in action. And with that, thanks for joining me today. Again, Jennifer Britton. Have a great rest of your summer.